Hi, this is Tom Callos here, coaching you and your staff, hopefully. That you are sharing with your staff, you're using this material as staff meeting notes, you're sharing, they're looking, you're asking for feedback, right? Okay, we're talking about student retention. There are 168 hours in every week. Let's pretend that your students come 4 days a week at 60 minutes. Now, some of you who do jiu-jitsu have 90-minute classes. Some of you have students only 2 days a week, sometimes only one. You can do the math, but let's just think about this based on 4 times a week attendance, which is a lot for the non-professional. For the student, you may lose. That's 4 hours a week. Now, if you spend 5 minutes in each class coaching your students about what it takes to stick to practice and why sticking to practice is really the only way they're going to succeed and get the benefits that you promise. Why would they do that? You know, if you're focusing them and making sure you're coaching them so they don't get off course, that would be 20 minutes a week. Are you talking to students 20 minutes a week? Can your staff come up there, that young instructor who, while you're running the front desk and doing sales or teaching the advanced classes, and that young instructor goes out and does his or her thing, does that person give a convincing argument? Are they really directing and coaching the students? Are you giving less than 20 minutes, 5 minutes a week, 10 minutes a week to the very mental concept, the philosophy of why the practice is so important, why sticking to the game, which is a fraction of everybody's weekly time, is so important, what the benefits are, and being honest with them about, this stuff doesn't work unless you make it a practice. It's like going to a dietitian and they set up a beautiful meal that's way below your calorie needs or your regular calorie consumption so that you can lose weight, and doing 2 or 3 meals and then just blowing it off. No benefits. No benefits. And that's what you're often doing with students. You're not really coaching them. You're so intent on getting the sale and getting them in and teaching them martial arts, you forget that you're going to lose 80 to 90% of those people because of your coaching or lack thereof. I think the process of, getting and keeping students, you have to seriously look at the messages and the mental coaching, because the physical practice is certainly a big element of the training. But proceeding with all this exercise and all the activity and driving to the school and doing all this without the proper attitude, well, imagine what that would be like with one of your staff members who forgets that giving is how you get, that they become focused on how much money they are or are not making, or how white belts are hard to teach, or all those things that mess up an instructor's mind so that they stop being the master teacher and start tripping over little rocks, like stumbling over obstacles, when the only time you really see the obstacles is when you take your eyes off the big picture. Likewise, you have to train your students to have the right attitude so that when they come to class, they understand what's taking place, they understand how long it takes, and they have realistic expectations. When you don't do those things, you get students who came to you in earnest, who wanted the benefits, their parents wanted their kids to have self-discipline and all that, but nobody ever really told them and really hammered home the point of how those things are achieved. So thus you get people who say, oh, Johnny wants to go do soccer now, and Sally is losing interest in class. And I mean, those ideas are ridiculous for the student who's properly prepped. It's like, I want to write a novel. Oh, well, I wrote a couple pages, but I'm going to go off and, do photography now. You're not getting students who really want to write a novel, and you've got to seek out those students who really want to achieve the benefits of the martial arts. And if they come in uncertain, it's okay. You get to bring them into a course where they start to become educated, but you better be educating. You can't leave the biggest obstacle to your school's success untouched. And I would guess that if I came into your school and listened to 10 classes, that there'd be very little convincing dialogue going on, especially if the class isn't being taught by the person with the most experience. And even some of you are neglecting this. I doubt that there'd be a lot of convincing, compelling dialogue about it, and I think you should rethink that. I think, if we look through your stack of cards of people who've quit, every one of those people who quit, with some exceptions, just had unrealistic expectations, or nobody ever really told them the truth, And it's not about selling long-term memberships and getting your gross up. It's about being a coach of value and of skill. And imagine, putting someone in backpacking gear and getting them all geared up. They've got the right sleeping bag and the right amount of food and the right shoes and the right socks and everything they need, but never telling them that the road they were about to go on was 100 miles, Maybe they expected a 5-mile trip, that you can't leave that out. You have to prepare them so they know what to expect, because no matter how perfect your gear is and how well set up you are, and you're signed up for membership and you're in the class, if you don't know where you're going, you're going to end up having people that are surprised or disappointed, or they just didn't know. It's your job to tell them. So back to the beginning, you really have to spend some time talking, educating, not just the students, especially young students. You better bring their parents or their significant others into the process, because the first time I say, "Oh, Dad, I don't want to go to class anymore. I'm bored." And Dad doesn't even have a concept of what's going on. He says, "Okay, well, what would you like to try next?" And whose fault is that? And even if it's the parents' fault or the student's fault, maybe you did everything you could, you have